And now, finally, I have great honor, first time in the history of our conference, to invite on this stage the leader of the most optimistic country in the world, President of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelenskyy. Mr. President, floor is yours and good luck. And moderator of this panel will be President of Council of Foreign Relations, Richard Haas. Richard, floor is yours. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Viktor Mikhailович, dear presidents, your excellencies, dear journalists, Ukraine. For me, first of all, it's very difficult for me to speak after Oleg. I'm so happy that you are here. Я дуже радий, що ти тут. Я дуже радий, що наші...
Very happy that you are here, that all our boards, some of them, not all of them, have come from Russia. They're back to their homes, to their families, to their children. And I'm very grateful to you. I will do my best. I'm sure that this job will be full someday, but anyway, I'll do everything in my power to fill it up.
You know, what can I say? I didn't sleep enough, and I thought, what can I say about happiness? What does it mean for me, especially? What does it mean for my family, for my wife? She's here. When she's smiling, I'm happy. Why not? And what we have to do Ukraine happy, to do our people happy. You know, many thoughts, many questions in the night. Am I happy to be president? I'm not sure. But I'm very happy to be the president of Ukraine. And first of all, I prepared some speech, a little one. But before it, I want just to ask you directly one question. What is happiness for you? It's like improvisation. We love improvisation in Ukraine. That's why we're happy. Oh, thank you very much. So, just 2 words. What is happiness for you? 2 words. The main words.
My wife is happy, my country is peaceful.
Very good. Wife and country.
Meeting happy people.
Meeting people. Yesterday we met each other. You are happy.
That's what I meant.
Thank you very much.
My 4 children, 2 soon 3 grandchildren.
Cool.
I think to be fair in the society is very important for us. Без комментариев.
No
My
comment.
family and health. Family and a strong Ukraine.
Thank you.
My country.
Ukraine and its friends.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I will explain why I wanted to listen to this. В цілому, ви знаєте,
By and large, you know,
більшість людей
the
кажуть,
majority of
що
people
найголовніше це
would say that the
те, що
most
я почув,
important
це
thing,
сім'я.
like I heard, is family.
Україна,
The notion of family,
сім'я.
Ukraine as a family,
І, ви знаєте, я
Ukraine
вчора-
and
я
family,
зараз
and
повернусь до теми
I'm
сім'я.
coming back
Чому
to
це
the notion of
найголовніше?
family and why
Буду
this is
говорити
so
саме про
important.
Україну і про
And I'm going to
українську сім'ю.
discuss the Ukraine and the Ukrainian family as a
Я
phenomenon.
вчора,
Yesterday,
гортав стрічку Facebook,
I was going through Facebook in preparation for the speech.
хотів
And I wanted to be inspired by other people's comments and thoughts, and about the Zelensky as a rescuer, savior, and soulless tyrant. There was Omar Khayyam, Confucius, Jacques Rousseau, Pythagoras, and we had the Desperate Housewife drama. But I'm not going to quote anybody of them. I'm going to quote one classic, my favorite classic, my 6-year-old son. And happiness is when dad is back home before I go to sleep. And the most popular answer, happiness is family. That's true. And let me make a short remark. Happiness is a happy family. Let's imagine the average Ukrainian family. In the evening, they get together at the same table. Are they happy together? No. First of all, because at that table, there are some empty chairs. Chair number 1 belongs to someone who is now defending their country in the east. And for thousands of Ukrainian families, this chair is going to stay vacant forever. The second chair is the labor migrants' chair. Yes, their remittances received by the families on a regular basis. But is it enough for happiness, for the wife, for the mother, parents, children, and this person themselves, PhD, are picking apples, fighting poverty. He loses, or she loses, they lose their dignity. Just look what happens to the Ukrainian language, what we can express the difference. Poverty and dignity, just one letter, bidness and hidness. One sound, but such a big difference. And there are two other reasons. People who are at the table are willing to leave it. The first category is grandma and grandpa. They have small pensions and they feel just useless. They worked for long years. Now, instead of traveling the world like it happens to their fellow retirees and internationally, instead they have a trip from the poor hospital to an expensive pharmacy. And then the youngsters at the table. And for them, happiness is to go to study in a different country. Everyone says that our higher education institutions at the education level are on a level of many international institutions. So it's not about studies, it's about staying abroad. And then the nephew, everybody calls him a loser. Officially, he is an independent business person. First, the old circles of hell, he asked to register his business. Now he is robbing all the agencies. He's not paying the taxes because otherwise he'll have to close his business. That's the Ukrainian way of doing business, you see. And all this family, after the dinner, turn on their telly, and they can see that a corrupt official fled from the country, another official knocked somebody down on the road and escaped any responsibility. So All the people are people, and they have to earn some money to make their life happy somewhere abroad. And then they get the bills for the utilities, and they go to sleep with the only thought: this is a country with war, poverty, and injustice. So we have to flee this country. So what can we say about urgent, immediate reforms in Ukraine, the importance for the country? You see that there are many people who actually were surprised by my comment to politics. They said, they would say, you're a happy person, you're a happy man. That wasn't so, not quite so, because you cannot be happy alone. And it is unbearable to live in the conditions when it is uneasy for you. To be happy among unhappy people, you have to hide your happiness from the unhappy fellow citizens. The happiness that you made yourself, that you deserve, that you earned with your labors, but that stands against unhappiness of many people who live next to you, next door, in the same country. And now, myself and my team, we have some excuse for being happy. We enjoy the trust of the people, of the nation. I'm very grateful. Great trust, but by the way, that's also a great responsibility, because if we fail, that will be another all-national depression. So what can happen worse than unhappiness? Just the doomed state, the doom. We have to build another country. What is necessary for happiness? To overcome the enemy, not just in geopolitics. I mean, the enemies of our happiness: war, poverty, corruption, and, excuse me, but also jealousy or envy. What do we see for a happy Ukrainian family? The most important thing: everyone at the table, all present. No vacant chairs at that table. The courageous people protecting and defending Ukraine have to come back as victors. We have to bring our territories back. But I have said that on numerous occasions, I'm saying it again: diplomacy rights supreme. The most important weapon is sanctions. I'm tireless to repeat to my partners, I'm very grateful to them. Sometimes they think about lifting sanctions. You're losing your money. Seriously, we're losing our people. And you know that in the civilized world, paying taxes is a normal thing. And that includes for order, law and order. Sanctions are the strict taxes, in a way necessary for the world order. And if you wish, it's a peace tax. Unless we restore peace, the sanctions should stay. Our next challenge is, as I said, is overcoming poverty. The labor migrants should come back. Another vacant chair should be filled in at the dinner table. And we cannot fight poverty effectively without steep and rapid economic growth. And for that, to that effect, the economy of Ukraine should come out of the shadow. However hard some people try to resist it. The economic vampires, I would call them, that are afraid of the light, the sunlight. Monopolies, raiding should become anachronisms in the Ukrainian vocabulary. The right of to private property is a sacred right. Economic growth should become inclusive. That means that it should be felt not by a few families, but every citizen of Ukraine, without any exception. The third thing, and it's not of less importance, we have to bring back our hope for justice, believe in justice. We have to overcome the nonsense corruption, have the political will in creating the law enforcement, anti-corruption bodies, and justice, judicial bodies. We have to look on our adversaries and our skeptics. They say it's impossible in Ukraine. It's very good they say that, because in our team we have a very good tradition by now. We've developed it. The less they believe in us, the better we do. That was with the presidential election, that was the case. With the parliamentary election, it was the case. With the dismissal of the disbanding of the parliament, the lifting the immunity, and the same will happen with overcoming corruption, I believe. Happiness is a thief in prison, not in Maldiva Islands. And these are the three things fundamental for the Ukrainian happiness, the national happiness of future, rebuilding of the country, high quality medical care, strong education, comfortable infrastructure, and decent social protection. All those changes are not impossible, not improbable, or something not earthly. For many countries it's a norm. It has been for a long time. For us it's just a dream, just a dream. But I remember that I had yellow bracelets on my wrists with the names of our sailors, our seamen, and I promised to take them off when they are home, back home. Before that, that was a reminder for my mission. My dream of happy citizens is another big yellow bracelet on my, not on my wrist, mind you. It's right here in my mind. And by the way, in our picture of a happy family at the same dinner table, there is another vacant chair, dear guests, for the world, for international partners, and we have something to offer. Let's say there is something we can treat you to. Some projects under my personal guarantee protection, I'm inviting international business, energy sector, infrastructure, transparent land market, and we are full of ideas. That's not all. There's something for dessert. There's something to crown it. And with your permission, has it been too long? All right. There's still time till dawn. So, with your permission, I would like to offer a couple of projects just by way of announcement. With your permission. Irrigation of southern soils in Ukraine, that's an ambitious task of turning desert into fertile land. We'll have this forum in October in Mariupol, the investment forum. You're all invited. And then into University IT cluster in Kharkiv, the city with the biggest number of students for Ukraine. Ukraine is rich of talent in IT especially. Then, again, Center for Filmmaking in Kiev. You know that yesterday we adopted another law on facilitation of filmmaking in Ukraine, rebates, and make sure that you participate. It's not worse than Budapest, Poland, or any other country. A new resort, the Black Sea shore. That's a new brand new Ukrainian town. These skiing resorts in design, not just Bukovel. And the Carpathians are big mountains, a whole range. We have this potential to become the Eastern European Alps. Now we're reviewing Slavsko and Burzhava projects. Another one. Next. So, impact investment, another project at the junction of arts, education, and business, the prototype for resetting economy in all the regions of Ukraine without any exception. And then, with your permission, a wonderful place, a smaller island in Europe, River Island. That's the concentration of Khortytsa, the heart of Cossack country, and the big entertainment park for Central Eastern European guests. Another one. This is not an exhaustive list, mind you. List of reasons why we would like to invite you to invest in Ukraine. And if you come with your own, bring your own, invest in Ukraine. And I would like to say that I would like all of you to know that Ukraine enjoys an incredible potential so historically that Ukrainians have fought for their happiness, and very often that was unsuccessful. We have it in the literature, in our music, in our arts, this outcry of suffering. It seems to be in our DNA, in our blood and bone. Some people, not all of them, believe that Ukraine is going into some kind of abyss that will have an economic disaster. They want us to fail, their country to fail, to say proudly, I said so, I warned you. And those people are unhappy, and they're going to be unhappy unless they change. And I wish they change in the coolest country of the world, which is called Ukraine. Thanks a lot.
For the invitation. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. So no. Okay. I should be.
I hope that doesn't make you unhappy.
No, I'm happy. It's okay.
Actually, I was going to begin with happiness. I should introduce myself. I'm Richard Haas. This?
No, I don't hear, but I hear you. Hello.
Have you turned it on?
Yes. I'm happy with techniques.
Does it work now?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
I'm Richard Haas. I'm president of the Council on Foreign Relations, which is in the United States of America, which until recently was a dominant force in basketball. So you used to make people happy, or at least forget their unhappiness in your previous life. Which was more difficult, that or making people happy now as president of Ukraine?
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, I used to make people happy on stage for many years, in film also, and being president is, you know, it seems to me that being president is not just difficult, it's a big mission in its own right, it's a great responsibility, and making people happy, being president, and this capacity to make Ukrainians really happy, to me, It would be a great honor. It's not work. It's my opportunity, and it just happens once in your life. I said that I was there for one term, for one time in the office. In other countries,
Я знаю, що там
I know that people stay for a long time. They stay on, but I have very few years. I can see that I have too little time. I'm short of time, and every day I'm doing something so that at the end of the day I say to myself, just one person has become happier because of us, because of our assistance, and that's my job now. That's my job now.
You were elected with a tremendous popular support, and then you had the election soon afterwards, which strengthened your political position. What do you think is behind that? What was it or is it about Ukraine that somebody who is a political outsider would suddenly enjoy this degree of political support? What does that tell you about the situation you inherited?
Thank you very much for the question. I was never an outsider in any possible way. I have always been another citizen. And the presidential status never changed me and never could change. And that was felt by Ukrainians when they were voting for me. Some people would think that they were not voting for Zelensky but against Poroshenko. But, well, let them think so. Whatever they say, but we understand the logic of the words. If there are people who are against someone, that means that they are in favor of somebody else. And people are tired, no doubt, but they were tired 5 years ago also. They wanted some change. They craved for changes, and the changes are happening, actually. I think that the most important thing that I give to every Ukrainian, I never lie, I never change my line. If I promise, I keep my promise. That's why I promise very few things. I know how important and difficult it is to promise and then to keep the promise. And then I said that, in my opinion, I wanted to be president, but stay a person, human being. And people believed in that. They expect from me as president a fellow citizen. I will make mistakes. I'm already making mistakes. I'm not ideal. I'm like everybody else. In that respect, but I'm prepared to admit my mistakes, to change, to listen to the people, and do everything I can for the success of our country. And I'm not becoming a star. I don't know whether this is a good expression, but I was born in a Russian-speaking family. Now I'm speaking Ukrainian. My Ukrainian is something that makes me proud. I'm proud of my emerging English, but it's very important to recognize what you are, not to seem, not to play, not to be an imposter, but be your real self, the way you are.
This is not my first conference. I began with Victor years ago when we were still able to meet in Yalta, and then we've been meeting here in the capital for several years. And one of the themes every year has been corruption. And one of the questions that came up, because you've obviously made some progress, but you have a lot of work left to do, is in the area of antitrust. You still have an economy in which individuals in certain sectors enjoy tremendous influence and control. What is your sense of the future of antitrust reform here in Ukraine?
Дякую за запитання. По-перше, я дуже
Thank you very much for your question. I was never a part of any corruption. I'm very happy. I've never been. No schemes or anything of the kind. Indeed, there are many people saying that we are too hasty with the lawmaking process. and we just on the go reset and reboost the anti-corruption bodies. We can make mistakes, we can afford it. If we are result-oriented, you know, we have appointed new Prosecutor General. We are resetting the Prosecutor General's office. I'm sure that there are honest prosecutors in the regions, but we are dismissing them all. We are replacing them all because you want to make it clean. You have to reshuffle. We are resetting the security service, the judicial reform. The law was adopted by the parliament. The anti-corruption court on the 5th of September. They started. We're helping the court now because they shouldn't be overburdened with the case law. They should prioritize as we ask them, because people should see the first results already now. Now, speaking of anti-monopoly policy, we're resetting the anti-monopoly Antitrust Committee. We have changed the format. We'll see how the chair will work and perform. Many laws adopted by the parliament to release some pressure on the business, but business should know that if we want to find the money somewhere, we should pay taxes. Now, speaking of big business, in our country, there's this alternative name of tycoons or oligarchs, like you said.
The people who sometimes control not just manufacturing of large scale, but sometimes even sectors. We proposed normal rules of the game. We cannot tolerate monopolists in Ukraine any longer. We should have an open market. I do understand there are difficulties, and there are lots of difficulties when you talk to big business, but I'm sure they will hear us. If they won't, we will have to look for other ways to talk to them. But I would like to discuss them the real rules of the game, because there are a lot of jobs, a lot of people, and their livelihoods depend on their business. And I think they are prepared themselves now to reload their attitude, their thinking, their mentality, to restart this, because this country has given to these large business groups a lot of things. This country has given them time, big money, provided them with opportunities. Sometimes this country provided the opportunity to take this money out of the country, big way. But this is the time they understand that all of their companies, of their big manufacturing, of their monopoly sectors, tomorrow, if the country will collapse, if the country collapses, and if all people will abandon this place, who will this business work for? Who is going to work on their factories? I think mentally they are changing already as we speak.
I'd like to raise two security questions. One, in the situation you just had, the important prisoner exchange. One hears talk about the Normandy format resuming. One issue that Mr. Putin floated years ago was the possibility of a peacekeeping presence, and that as being essential, that if Russian troops and forces were to leave, that there would not be reprisals. Could you imagine yourself supporting a peacekeeping force? And do you think is that too ambitious, or is that a possible next step to build on the prisoner exchange?
First of all, I'm very careful about this topic of peacekeepers in Donbass. I know that the previous government discussed that issue and different arrangements of implementing this. Why I'm being careful? Because with Donbass, I do not have Abkhazia scenario or Transnistria scenario when peacekeepers will be in between the two forces and will never leave later for good. So I'm very careful about this issue. I'm not raising the question of peacekeepers, and Leonid Ilyich Kuchma is here, and Beryl in the Minsk process. They are not also raising this topic. They are not. But I will be satisfied if there will be peacekeepers on the border between Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, they can be there if they want to. And that's the place where we would like some assistance, and we would see a peacekeeping mission there on the former border. But let's talk about the Normandy format. On the 2nd of September, thanks God, we had a meeting in the Normandy format of the meeting of two countries. Mr. Pristaiko, foreign minister, represented Ukraine, and they discussed all the sequence of steps that would lead to suspending the war, stop putting the end to the war. The next stage, after the exchange of prisoners, exchange of sailors, we are now preparing other lists, and we are looking forward to the next phase of exchange. We're going to negotiate this in Minsk, in the Normandy process as well. I don't know to what extent, if you're interested, I mean, I can expand on this and then talk broader. I don't know what is the format, how much time we have. How long do you want my answers to be? Is it interesting? Okay, then listen, if you're interested. As regard to separating the forces, very sensitive topic as well. So we've separated these forces in Stanitsa Luhanska. There's no shooting there. We started building a bridge. We've pulled the forces on both sides backwards. From the humanitarian point of view, this is a very proper step. The next stage, according to the Minsk agreements, is separating the forces in the city of Petrovsk and Zolote. I think we will approach that question in the nearest weeks to come. And then the meeting in the Normandy format, something we're looking forward to, the meeting of the leaders of the four countries. And I will be honest, we are addressing our Western partners, and by the end of September we will be just looking forward for this meeting. I'm sure this will happen. There's nowhere to procrastinate, because each day we have our people, our guys dying.
In preparation for this morning, I read some of your recent public statements, including your National Day speech. So I wanted to try a theory on you, that your long-term strategy for Crimea is to basically compete with Russian nationalism by a demonstration of the soft power and appeal of Ukrainian liberalism. And that you're hoping that one day, the day will come when the people living in Crimea will essentially see the appeal of, again, Ukraine's model as something stronger than the appeal of Russian nationalism. What do you think of that theory?
You've formulated this well. Well, I think if you formulated this like that, it's the way it is. But I will try to formulate it in my own words. In terms of Crimea, I think so. I haven't had a meeting neither in the Normandy format nor the meeting with President Putin. I think the most difficult situation is bringing back the Crimea. To be honest, we are thinking, we have several formats, we have several ideas about this, but I can't disclose them now. It's too early. It's just the same situation as the prisoner exchange. I don't want anyone to abuse what I will say. And we do have important meetings, the ones already mentioned. There's another one coming, hopefully with the President of the United States. We are thinking about the model, and I will stop there if you allow me. But we will be fighting to bring the Crimea back, and not only in words.
I was told I have time for one last question. Since you mentioned the President of the United States, I just read that the most recent commitment of American aid is being released. This administration in the United States has tried to, this president has tried to create a close relationship with Mr. Putin and with Russia. Other aspects of U.S. policy have been more distant and more critical. Would you say something about your relationship with the United States and what you would hope to accomplish if and when you do have that meeting in the White House?
First of all, I'm sure that we will have the meeting in the White House because I was invited. Our diplomats are now agreeing about the final date, and in any case, this meeting before the New York and Washington or after New York and Washington, but it's going to happen soon, also in September. In terms of our relationship with the United States, I would like to thank the United States for constant support for our sovereignty, for our territorial integrity, and as regards to our relationship with President Trump, I am thankful, grateful to him. We've had several conversations. So far, everything is very good. He was congratulating me on several occasions regarding the victories we had. And you also heard that the temporary, our military aid was blocked for 250 million, but we haven't responded in any way because we didn't have any other result. Now I can say that we have very good relationships with the United States, because now instead of the blocked 250 million, we will have 140 and 250 million. So I think we are moving in the right directions, and we have a very good relationship with our strategic partner, the United States of America, and I'm grateful to the United States for their assistance.
Mr. President, thank you for being with us here.
By the way, this is a very good economic model. When you're waiting for 250 units of something, then it's being blocked, and then you have the possibility to get 390. I like this kind of relationship.
If this career doesn't work out for you, you clearly have a future one in international finance. Thank you. Thank you for...
Well, I hope this career will be a success, I hope. So let's finish with happiness.
Everyone in this room hopes to say that as well. So yes, for the happiness of the country and for the success of your presidency, I think there is a consensus. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.